So in a nutshell, I live in North Santee section of the county, which some people may or may not know is going out toward Charleston area. Mm-hmm. And been there, for a long time now. And belong to the church that's down the street from me, and work in several of the, some of the community organizations that exist out there, like our North Santee Action Club, and all of those things in the community keep us busy.
Now, how many terms have you served?
This will be the end of the fourth one.
So what is it about the school board that makes you want to keep serving?
Well, I do enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with the students. Last year I had a part-time thing that, actually had me in the school. So that definitely gave me a different perspective from, working along with the board. But again, I think it's, some of the programs that we've got in place are good, and I would certainly like to see them continue. We have just about finished up all of the things that our bond referendum got into place, and so I would certainly like to see all of those things kept up and maintained, so that we don't get into the situation that we got into and had to get a bond referendum because we needed the funding.
Now, what was that when you got into? Refresh my memory.
Well, the system, I guess, or the facilities and all those things had sort of started going downhill.
Yeah, because people may not realize, but I mean, the bond referendum that passed back in the 90s did help build, Carver's Bay schools and all that. Those schools are now 24 years old.
Yes.
So yeah, the wear and tear, even on the new schools, is there.
Yes. And so I, certainly like to make sure that our funds are being used to do what they were intended to do, which was to upgrade all the facilities. And most of that's been done. And so now it's kind of into maintaining the good work that was done. And I'd certainly like to, see that all of that is kept up. And I think maybe my major motivation was, since we did have to get another superintendent, that, my experience on being the board would be helpful. And so
that is one of the big jobs of a school board member, is hiring a superintendent when the time, when it's needed. You did that. Dr. Bethany Giles is the superintendent now. Been here for 40 years or so in the school system. So you ended up hiring, the deputy superintendent as the superintendent. Does that mean that the money that was spent on, for a search committee was a waste of money, since you ended up hiring the deputy anyway?
Well, I don't feel like it was, and besides that, I think there are some procurement codes and regulations and other things that exist that say you really do have to kind of go through a process.
Okay, so you can't just promote, once the superintendent leaves, you can't just promote the deputy and say, you have to do a search?
I think that possibly you could, but I am not certain about that. And so, we did the process.
Well, it was a unanimous vote, to hire her. And and one thing about Dr. Giles is you probably don't have to worry about her leaving. She's, her whole career has been right here in Georgetown County. Sure. So it'd be kind of odd if she decided now to leave. Sure. So, I mean, is that one thing that played a role in it? You wanted somebody that's going to stick around for a while?
Well, we felt like that would certainly be helpful, but I was reminded by someone that the probably average stay of superintendents these days are, 3 to 4 years, and that kind of maybe applies to, this, I wouldn't say next generation or the newer generations just don't, seem to worry or want to, stay somewhere for that long. And so they have said, or I've seen, papers and things that say, some of the newer generations, just don't wish to be stable, I guess, or just want to do something differently. And so they, work somewhere for 4 or 5 years and, move to another position. And that's, how it has become, I feel like.
One of the things you've had to deal with a lot, and the other board members and the district as a whole, is these school threats that's been happening right and left. I mean, what do you think as a school board member and as the school board itself can do about that?
Very good question. I think that our obvious systems that you may have heard us discussing and talking about are helping or working, but again, I just kind of feel like society itself has evolved, has changed, has lost some values. And so I guess until we do better modeling for our students, then that's what they see, that's what they do. And I'm not sure how else to to phrase it, other than, it's a serious thing to do this, so don't do this.
But do you think our safety department's doing a good job handling it?
I do. I feel like it is. I just feel like role models are not there anymore. Like you and I probably had. And so, we wouldn't have thought to do that. And in today's world, they think of doing that, and so they do it and then have to suffer consequences. And thankfully there haven't been any long-term serious injuries or events, but we don't know.
Let me ask you about curriculum and education. One of the things your opponent has brought up is Common Core. Now, Common Core, as we knew it, is not in place anymore, right?
Correct.
But there, and according to the research she did, it's still kind of like Common Core, what we have still, just a different name. But I mean, she says whatever you want to call it, is failing. Do you agree with that?
Not really. No, I don't. South Carolina has their own standards, and actually, according to her research, it still may be as much as 80%. But to my way of thinking, Common Core is common knowledge that all students would need wherever they are. And so South Carolina, has, I guess tweaked it or come up with some of their own standards that are different or, different from other states, because that is a state function.
That's what I was going to ask. When I first started covering school board 30 years ago, you guys, well, you weren't on the board then, but the school board was able to make a lot of the decisions about what students were learning in the classroom in Georgetown County. The state's kind of taken a lot of that away from your power, right? I mean, they make most of the decisions now about what's being taught in every classroom in the state.
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the local school boards don't have as much power over curriculum as they did 30 years ago. Am I right about that?
That's probably correct. I won't swear to it, but
But I mean, you don't vote. I mean, I remember back in the day, I mean, there would be like 2 or 3 meetings where you'd vote on curriculum. One thing after, and that doesn't happen anymore. It seems like that happens in Columbia now, not in Georgetown County.
That's probably correct. Yes.
So, saying that, even if it is failing, as your opponent said, what can you as a board member and the Georgetown County School Board do about it? If it is a failing curriculum now.
Well, I just feel like there are common things that all students need to know. And so if it's failing to such a degree, I feel like a whole lot more people or a whole lot more students would be failing as well. And, I think generally speaking, we're moving forward. We're certainly not 100% better than we were this time last year maybe, but we are certainly moving forward. And I think that as long as we're moving forward, then, we're doing the best we can. And again, I feel like when society remembers that education is valuable, then, there may be some more emphasis from the students' outside sources, because I feel like the system and the district are, presenting their best foot forward with what is being offered, and the courses and subjects and all those things are available, and so is help. If, in case, children are struggling, in case students do need that help, it can be available. But again, we don't know that until the student or the teacher, says so, or, tries to work something out. And so then, I feel like the district is doing its part for supporting, what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Now, we mentioned one of the big jobs of the school board is hiring the superintendent. Mm-hmm. The other thing you have to do every year is a budget. Mm-hmm. And we hear all the time people saying, the budget in the school district is bloated and can be reduced. Mm-hmm. That there's too many people at the back administration center, mm-hmm. And if you reduce that number, maybe teachers could get paid more. Mm-hmm. You have to vote on the budget every year. Do you feel like there are places that can be reduced?
I suppose there's always, some places that could be reduced. However, I feel like most of the positions that are in place, are necessary or needed. Of course, again, nothing's 100%. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I feel like, our district staff and teachers, which we did manage to get a little raise to this last year, was helpful. But again, that's kind of one of the things that the state, says you have to do this, but we're not going to give you any money to do it with. Yeah. And so, again, we're back to figuring out how to use our pennies as best as we can. And so I think that, they're spread, fairly equitably, especially in the schools that didn't get the, don't have the magnet school budget, which was extra and actually, separate. So I feel like, our financial people do, pretty good job. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're a year into and about 2 months into the magnet program, the Carvers Bay attendance area schools. Mm-hmm. How do you feel it's going? Is it something you're glad we did?
I feel like it is. I, again, think that, we're just getting started, basically. And so I think that it will continue to build and get better. We'll just have to see how it plays out, because, again, for me, sometimes, society doesn't value education like it used to. And so I feel like once we get that back or improve that, then, perhaps, we can do much greater things.
Now, one thing, Superintendent Price, when he was here, said, when the program was getting started, is one of the goals was to try to bring more racial balance to the Carvers Bay schools, Plantersville Elementary, Browns Ferry Elementary. Has it done that? Can you tell if that goal is working?
I think it's heading that way. I think it's not 100%, but I do believe that it's helping some, and so again, we'll have to see how much value the district or the I guess almost constituency, or parents, guardians, community, churches, support those things. I mean, I think the programs are good. I think they're doing their very best, and
but have you noticed, and I don't know if you've gotten any data yet from the district of attendance as far as kids from other parts of the county coming to Carver's Bay schools or Plantersville or Browns Ferry because of the magnet program?
Okay, I'm not sure that I've seen any official, but I
Okay.
mean, I think it has definitely brought some, but I'm not sure about the figures. I don't have any on hand for sure.
Now, one of those magnet schools is Plantersville Elementary, and there's been talk, it comes up and then it goes away and then it comes back about possibly closing that school because it's got such a small student population. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess sometimes you may have to do things you don't want to have to do, but if it's for the best, if it's in the best interest of the students, then that may be what has to happen. We are certainly, looking at, the numbers, the figures, and all those things. And as some of our board members have pointed out, it sometimes, decreases opportunities for small numbers because, of course, the larger number you have, the more participants you might have in such a particular program. And so again, if it's going to boil down to helping the students, then that may be what we have to do.
But now, some of the comments we saw after we posted this story from the school board meeting that it was talked about is that maybe you should redraw the district lines or even enforce the district lines that are drawn to make sure the kids that should be going to Plantersville are going to Plantersville, or maybe redraw the lines a little bit to make, is that an option other than closing the school?
It could be. I'm not sure that there's been in-depth studies about it, but again, society, the population is not growing, and so then there are no younger students to go, and what do you do then? So it's so it's kind of.
I remember this came up as a topic back in, I think it was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, and then it just went away. But it looks like it's going to continue to be talked about this time. I know it's on the agenda for Tuesday night, and you've got the budget process coming up starting, I guess, in January. You think it's going to continue to be a topic this time?
I do believe so, because again, funding from other sources, funding from the state itself, from the federal government, may or may not be decreased. We're, obviously not sure what's going to happen when, and so I think it's going to be a topic we'll be talking about for a little while.
And I know I remember Chairman Gaskin said that the next budget for 2025-26 is going to be kind of tough to balance. Are you looking now a little ahead of time at what may need to be cut or changed to balance the upcoming budget?
I think some of that's coming up. Again, we kind of start earlier to see what's needed, because that would be a starting point, what's needed, and then kind of go from what can we work in, extra. And so I think that it's probably going to be part of the budgeting process as well.
One thing that's going to happen, I guess at the November meeting, I imagine, or it might be December, I'm not sure, but a new chairman will be selected. The board, of course, selects its own chairman.
Yes.
Bill Gaskin's not running again this year. So would you accept the position if you're nominated?
Maybe, possibly.
Okay. Yeah. Have you thought about it?
Maybe, possibly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so would that happen in November or a later meeting? Would it happen at the November meeting when the new board members are?
It would probably be maybe the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we know we're gonna have one new school board member because the person running for Mr. Gaskin's seat is unopposed. So we know, and I think you're.
And the other one as well.
Oh, for
oh gosh.
Lynn Ford's seat?
Yes.
Lynn Ford's seat. Yeah, that's right. It's unopposed too.
Yes.
So you're not the only contested race on the school board this year. Did that surprise you? Did you have ended up with an opponent?
Sort of, kind of. I've had one, I think, the last 2 times, and so, I was expecting that someone would. However,
well, one thing we know for sure, serving District 3 starting in November will be a Johnson. We know that.
Yes.
That's for sure. So let me ask you why, and I mentioned this during our other interview with Eileen Johnson, is people when they go to the polls and vote in District 3, you've got to be careful. You got to read the whole name.
Yes.
To decide who you're voting for. Don't just look at the last name, because same last name. So, just wrapping up here, why should people vote for Miss Sandra Johnson for school board?
Well, I've been saying my knowledge and experience would be helpful, I believe, especially as we transition to new members and basically a new superintendent. And so somebody else is in charge now, and I just feel like it would be helpful for me to be there.
All right. Any closing words?
Well, one of the things I've been pointing out, like you said, is to make sure that you vote your whole ballot, because school boards are on there, but if you just vote straight party, you're missing that.
Yeah, because you're nonpartisan.
Right.
So you would not vote for any school board candidates if you just vote straight party.
Right.
Let me ask you: is there a website or something people can go and look, find out more about you, or Facebook page, anything?
Not really.
No.
I do have a Facebook page, but it's just a personal one.
You do things the old-fashioned way, the way that we used to do it before all this technology.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Doing it that way. Well, I appreciate you doing this, and good luck between October 21st and November 5th.
How about that? Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.